Is this ever gonna start?
No.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 80 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast from the Super Network studio. I am here with hellagreg in his bunker across the internet. How goes it, hellagreg?
It's good, man. It's good.
Yeah, it's always good in
Yes.
the bunker, right?
Oh, yeah.
How could it be bad? You're away from everybody else.
You'd think.
And here with me in the studio, I've got three motherfuckers that I just don't know what to do with. I don't know how this is going to go. This could be a 4-hour episode. Before I introduce them, make sure you guys go find us on Facebook, Facebook group, and Instagram. And the email address is all Serial Chillers Podcast. The email is at Gmail. On Twitter, we are at Chillers Podcast. You can call or text the show at 1-805-666-2513. Serial Chillers Podcast.threadless.com for all your merchandise needs for now. Rate and review on everything, if you will. Patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast to help out the show in giving as little as $1 a month. We appreciate you. Also, don't forget to check out the Super Simpsons show, which started this month. So yeah, thanks.
Do all those things.
All of them.
You have your
So,
homework.
in no particular order, from my left to my right, welcome back. All of you motherfuckers have been here plenty of times. Casey, got to steal my pin back. Sorry. Welcome, Dustin, Paul, and Bigfoot. Hello. Or Sasquatch, the Aryan Ogre, and Bigfoot. Welcome, guys. You can say stuff now.
How's it going?
Well,
Yeah,
he normally has theme music, so
Yeah. He still does.
you just didn't want us to feel like assholes for not.
Oh, no. I was going to let you all, I was going to, hey, Dustin, how's it going? And then,
No, go ahead, do that.
I feel like the awkward silence was created.
Cool,
by
here we go.
Jesse.
It was created by me because I'm trying to stare both of you down in the eyes and let you know I am going to be like Dr. Tobias Funke tonight and be an analropist.
Yourself.
I don't know who the fuck that is, but okay.
It sounds important.
Yeah.
He's an analropist.
He's got a
an
doctor.
he's the
analropist.
very first analropist. It's all about a new start. That's really all there is to it.
The man inside me.
Oh, isn't that
It's Arrested Development.
Yeah, I got it. Hey, good one, dude. Got it.
Fuck you, we're competing right now.
Behind the scenes, Bigfoot gave him the high five.
Oh, shut up, we're angry.
So these guys have there have been some words exchanged that you've all heard throughout the episodes between one another. In fact, I'll tell you this: when you told me that Ryan had to step out for an episode, the first person I usually go to is him. If not you, he's usually around when I'm hitting you up.
I don't know who you're pointing to.
Yeah, it's fine. I usually hit up Bigfoot or Paul to fill in because they're usually pretty good for last minute. And Bigfoot goes, "Oh, it's Paul." Like, nah, I don't want to come on until episode 80. Like, he didn't want to. He wanted to save it all till this episode, so I can appreciate that. So Greg and I were talking, and we've got a few new things we want to do. So I'm going to let you guys know about the new things. We'll talk about how the show works. It's still going to be part of this, but so in season 4, we have this idea for something that we're going to be doing every episode now. It's going to be called the hellagreg challenge. We don't know what it's going to be. It could be artistic. It could be just a question. He might ask you to do something else. I'm not sure. I've kind of given him free reign on it. It may have something to do with today's killer. It may have something to do with the story he brought. It may have nothing to do with any of that. So each episode, look forward next season for a hellagreg challenge. Tonight, you guys are going to be the guinea pigs in the season finale.
I feel like there needs to be a liability
The
waiver
very
here.
first HGC.
Yeah, the question, my question for you before we get going is, you guys are all familiar with charades, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, interesting.
Why am I the only one that answered that?
Okay.
You're the only one who has to act
Is that
anything
sign
out.
language?
I should have been quiet.
Shit.
So besides that, you guys know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions because I can't answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions? Of course, Paul has one.
Yep, I do. How do I get my own theme music?
In due time. Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast.
Paul, it has to go to a fan vote.
Ooh, like right now, or do you want to do it later?
It'll be later.
Remember,
No,
Paul,
let's
gets
let's
more
do it now.
replies on surveys than we do.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's gonna have to happen organically. Like we're gonna have to see like a change.org petition or something.
Ooh, yeah, I won't start that for sure.
There's literally going to be a change.org petition in the group tonight.
Right, like probably 10 minutes after we finish here.
So I think by the time it's all said and done, we've got like 15 questions tonight and a long episode. All right. Today's serial killer is Larry Hall. That's right. You thought I was going to bring a fucking heavy hitter for season finale, and I was like, these guys are going to be assholes. Why bring a heavy hitter? There'll be plenty of shit to put in the show.
So true, though.
So everybody's got their cards ready. Question number 1. In what year is Larry Hall born? Add a birthday too. It's bonus points if you can nail the exact day he was born. You can't, though. I challenged you just then. You said 60, you said 52, you said 66. Nobody got the birthday. A couple were close, but Bigfoot's going to get 250 points on this one because he was born December 11th, 1962, and the fisting begins. Oh my God.
I have already been told that I can't lose because Dustin loses.
That's why you brought that bottle of Palm Wonderful.
Call that practice.
Okay, so
I was looking for an actual bottle of alcohol, too. I was like, wait, what'd I bring?
Larry Hall was born December 11th, 1962, with a twin brother, Gary Hall. Right. They were born to Robert Hall and his wife in Wabash, Indiana. Complications at birth caused Larry to have a lack of oxygen when he came out, and he was blue and unconscious. So, the struggle was real from literally the very beginning. He came out lifeless. They gave him a little tiny oxygen, a little tiny baby CPR. 1, 2, 3. And
You would kill somebody for sure.
and they brought him back. So yeah, the Larry and Gary lived to beat the twins. No solo kid on this one. So yeah, he's not starting off with any advantages. They lived their entire lives at Falls Cemetery in Wabash, Indiana, where the twin brothers constantly helped their sexton father dig and fill the graves. So from an early age, they kind of were involved in death. That was very prominent in their lives. Their dad didn't shy from it. They buried the fucking dead bodies. Their dad was very, I think their dad had already kind of been dead inside, and he shared no affection towards Larry or Gary to help with any of that.
That's the way to live.
He's really death positive.
Yeah, and their home wasn't like near the cemetery. It was in the cemetery. Like they had a home situated within the cemetery.
It's
that
quiet,
he
man.
Yes.
Halloween was probably lit as fuck.
AF.
Yeah. So it was, I think it's just an interesting start. Like, we hear of some abuse, which there's going to be a little bit of that here too, but I don't know that you hear so
only
much
a
about
little bit.
So unusual.
so much about just death so early, kind of being around it. There was actually a story where they say that they were sitting around the breakfast table as kids, like in their teen years, and their dad started choking on breakfast. And instead of anybody helping, Larry and Gary were just sitting there, and one said to the other, "I wonder if he'll die." and they just kept sitting there and eating their food. So imagine you start fucking choking and you look out to the people who for sure you were expecting to help you, and they're just like, are you gonna die right now?
Over
Yeah.
under.
You have two fucking weird ass kids, huh? And like 60 seconds, what would you say? So yeah, Larry and Gary were, I think they were some pretty interesting kids. They're super fucking close brothers from what I can understand. So they're going to start school pretty soon, and imagine being the kids who live on the fucking haunted cemetery, because there's a lot of like myths and local legends about this exact cemetery. I'm sure every cemetery that has ever existed has some type of myth or legend to it once it's been there for some time. This one is no different, and they live on it. So even when they go into school in kindergarten in August of 1968, Larry and Gary start attending the West Ward Elementary School. Larry was immediately...
So clinical.
Yeah, West Ward.
Well, you said there was going to be abuse.
Only a little bit.
Yeah, the abuse is really the neglect, like the non-affection, you know? What's that like?
How can there be abuse if there was no abuse then?
Ooh.
Because
stupid
like,
comment.
neglect's kind of abuse. That's all right. We can move on. There's no point in having this argument. I know where it's leading. Okay, so pretty immediately they go in and they say they split up Larry and Gary, saying Larry has a much lower IQ. He was often teased through school for being slower than the other children. Also, he had like crazy, vivid like night terrors, and he shared them with children. So he had like these really realistic like people killing him dreams and cutting off his skin, and he's like, you know, in kindergarten, like, last night I had a dream where they cut off all of my skin and they took it away, but I was still alive and screaming. And the kids are like, yeah. Hey, Gary.
He had the speech impediment too, right? So
Yeah, but I think it was R's for W, so...
oh,
So yeah, kind of like I was saying, his parents are really, there's no love to be shared there. While perhaps not directly abused, he was definitely neglected, not shown any or much affection. This dude maybe just needed a fucking hug, man. You know what I'm saying?
He was close to his brother. Why didn't his brother hug him?
Maybe they did hug. I'm going to show you a sound clip of his brother. It's fucking weird.
I was going to say, that sounded awkward.
Question number 2. Gary is afflicted with which of the McDonald triad combinations? Is it 2 of the 3? A, arson and animal killing. B, animal killing and bedwetting. C, bedwetting and arson. Or D, he completes the trifecta. Arson and animals and bedwetting, and arson, all 3. What were you going to say, Greg? Sorry.
this is Gary the brother, not Larry.
Sorry, it is Larry. I apologize. I don't know why I typed Gary. This is Larry, not the brother. Paul seems to have written Bigfoot sucks and B.
Shots fired.
Not yours though. So who's the joke on?
Dustin says bedwetting and arson. Both Bigfoot and Paul say animal killing and bedwetting. Dustin is going to get 250 points because it was indeed bedwetting and arson.
Does anybody else feel awkward right now that I don't have any points? Is that just me?
I think that's just
It's going to continue to probably
Greg, do you
just
feel
be
awkward over
you.
there?
I'm just guessing from personal experience.
And on the next episode,
I mean,
of Serial Killers,
that I've
we
read,
cover-
that I've read, personal experience. Yeah, okay, fuck it.
Fuck it, I don't read.
Why am I trying to front?
What am I, a nerd?
So, not a whole lot going on in his childhood. We see a little bit of, just kind of what we expect to see from somebody who's bullied and kind of takes some of the. He's not in special ed classes. He doesn't read as fast. He's not really comprehending quite as. He's just a little slower. So they've got him in classes that are just a little slower paced. So
They did that back then?
I guess maybe he was progressive in Indiana in the late 60s, early 70s. So really, he's kind of one of those kids. It sounds like it wasn't really Wabash isn't a small town, but it's not really a huge town. He's just known as one of those kids who's just going to kind of always be in trouble. Vandalism, arson, like we talked about. I think he pissed the bed until he was 13 was another part.
Killed
So that
animals.
completes the McDonald
So
triad.
normal.
There were no animal killing.
That's debatable.
Yep.
It's too bad he couldn't have been productive and just set his bed on fire and then pissed it out. He's just
Ooh.
accomplishing both.
Who said that he didn't?
He got me there.
Yeah, he's just one of those. He's fucking Dennis the Menace on crack. He's one of those kids that like the cops pick up and they take him home because fucking come on Larry, come on Gary, like enough for today, like no more throwing rocks off
Let
the
us
overpass.
take you back to
Or
the cemetery.
yeah, exactly. I think that's like exactly what it was. So once they get to high school, he and his brother are still really good friends, but Gary begins to make a lot more friends and gain some popularity. But he didn't really bring Larry along for it and would often join in the bashing of his brother. So there were times where Gary would pretend not to know Larry. They were twin fucking brothers, and
Never bring along the twin. That's why I left mine at home.
so anyway, he gets through his childhood. It's rough for him. It's tough for him. But kids are bullied and they make it through. Some of them end up killing lots of people.
Fuck yes.
He just made fun of his brother. That was all.
Yeah, Gary was a fuckface, but
He was like, "You're the one that smells like formaldehyde."
but I'll show you in some clips pretty soon. Actually, that Gary is fucking weird too, man. He is so fucking weird. Question number 3. At what age will Larry be suspected of committing his first major crime? Major crime. Not one where the cops are going to pick him up for lighting a trash can on fire and be like, all right, Larry, you can't do that. Let's get out of here. At what age will Larry be suspected of committing his first major crime? Closest to the answer gets 250 points. If you nail it, it's for 1,000.
How old are they at this point? Cool.
Should have been paying attention, bro.
Wait, can I answer questions?
You have the outline, but sure.
No, I mean like his question. Can I answer Paul's question?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just for future reference.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
okay, cool.
teases
Yeah, you're a co-host.
So you can ask me too. That doesn't mean I'm going to answer.
Dustin says 15. Bigfoot said 15.
and a half.
Oh, 15 and a half. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, is that 15 times 5? And Paul says 17. Well, Larry waited for the perfect time right as he became an adult at 18. So Paul's going to get 250 points.
Guys, I made it.
See, that's where he messed up.
I did it.
He's on the board.
You need to do that while you're juvenile.
Well, here's the thing. Is that he's suspected of committing his first major crime, but this is going to be much later that he's suspected of this. He's not really going to be looked at initially for this first major crime. The other thing is that there were a lot of Larry Hall victims and alleged victims. Some were stalked, some were murdered, some were just abducted, some were all
to and
three.
married.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with this story. So a lot of the story is just because like sometimes we'll do these episodes and I have so much background that it's like I don't even really need to talk about the crimes. And sometimes I like that. The crimes are there and we've talked about those and other podcasts are going to cover them and you'll hear the gruesome details. You can go get them on the same places I do. I put my sources out there. But this one, the story is how many fucking incidents his name is tied to. Because I took out 10 or 12. So by the time we get to the end of it here, you're going to be like, what in the fuck? How many did you take out? Because it's fucking ridiculous. So at 18, he's suspected of abducting Dean Marie Pyle Peters. She was 14. She disappeared from Forest Hills Central Middle School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hall is believed to be her abductor all these years later. So her body she was never found. Casey, what
How do you know she was abducted if she was never found?
That's the way you do it.
There's a lot of allegeds in this.
I feel like Casey and I are
episode.
going to get along on this episode.
Yeah, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt.
So 6 months later, another still missing victim named Deborah Jean Cole, who is 12, was last seen at her home in Lebanon, Indiana. Hall is also a suspect in her disappearance. Question number 4. Larry and Gary have a shared hobby. Is it A, working on cars, B, Civil War reenactments, C, oil painting, or D, stamp collecting?
It's gonna be wrong.
Working on cars, Civil War reenactments, oil painting, or stamp collecting?
It's gonna be D.
Dustin and Bigfoot both say D for stamp collecting. Paul says B, Civil War reenactments. And just like that, Paul has the lead.
Oh, it's Indiana. It's the
I know.
South. They're upset.
I was gonna put.
Is
put B
Indiana
in
the South? It's south of the Midwest.
It's definitely south of Canada.
So Paul's got a 500 to 250. Everybody else lead.
I'd like to take a moment to thank my competitors for getting that wrong.
You want to just go ahead and leave now since you got the lead?
No,
Paul out.
no, I gotta wait till I hit 1,000.
So yeah, they're very peculiar dudes. Larry doesn't do a lot of interviews now. Gary is down, it seems. So this is actually Larry that you're hearing.
Larry was hooked, even growing mutton chops from his hairline to his jowl.
Nice.
Though the reenactments helped Larry make friends, he still struggled with women.
What was Larry like around young women growing up?
Very awkward, quiet, backward.
Did he ever talk to you about these urges? He reportedly says he had urges about women.
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely, it was out of bounds. I had
What does
no
that mean?
idea.
Can I see? I want to see.
Jimmy Keene grew up.
So yeah.
There's just no emotion on his face.
So yeah, they're Civil War reenactors. Larry got more into it than Gary, but Gary very much into it. They would travel all over to do it.
I mean, obviously, he had mutton chops down to his jowls. So
So they would travel all over.
How did he have problems with the women?
And anywhere they could get to be a part of Civil War reenactments, different battles. Like a lot of these reenactments take place on the battlefields in which the real wars, were fought. So they would go travel around to these places and fight in these Civil War reenactment battles. So on August 6th, Jennifer Lee Schmidt, who is 19, vanished from Purdue University. Larry is suspected in that crime as well. August 11th, 1985, the body of Marcy Fuller Swinford, who is 21, was found in a wooded area near Honey Creek in southern Vigo County. She had been strangled with a leather belt and sexually mutilated. So, yes, this is the first time for you, Bigfoot, there's a body. They found a body. It was in the wooded area, Honey Creek, southern Vigo County. She had been strangled with a leather belt and sexually mutilated. In one of his confessions down the line, he's going to admit to using a leather belt in a lot of his murders from behind because he didn't want to see their face. A lot of killers really like to stare into the eyes and become a part of it. Some don't want to be at all. He didn't want to see faces at all. Turned them away, used the leather belt. This is in one of his confessions. So this kind of lines up with a lot of the things he's been a part of. March 28th, 1986, about 5 months later. This victim is still missing. Her name is Denise Diane Flum. She was 18 and disappeared from Connorsville, Indiana. Hall was in the area during her disappearance and is a suspect in the case. September 6, 1986, a Jane Doe was found in southern Illinois. Her body was exhumed in 2002 and identified as a drifter from California named Folia Milea Sanchez, who was 28. Milea Chavez, who was 28. She had been found strangled and was found in a cornfield. Her mutilation injuries were similar to other cases in which Larry Hall is a suspect. On December 1st, 1986, an alleged victim who is still missing, Kimberly Ann Thompson, who is 25, went missing from Champaign, Illinois. Once again, Hall was in the area during her disappearance and is believed to be a suspect. Bigfoot, you're not buying it, man.
No, you just said cornfield. All right. So I think They just went into the labyrinth and got lost.
That's it.
Yeah. You
They
can't, I
just-
mean, like
they-
you said, alleged. They don't know.
They're just watching David Bowie do hand juggling and have
Maybe.
a bulge.
Or maybe there's children of the corn. I don't know.
Prove they're not.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, Paul.
You sound so
I
convinced.
believe in the legal world that's called burden of proof.
Yeah. February 24th, 1987, Linda Weldy, who was 10 years old, disappears from a park that they believed that Larry Hall was in the area and a suspect for this crime. On March 11th of 1987, Diana Jane Braungart, who was 18, disappears after finishing her shift at the Venture store in Crystal, Missouri, near the Missouri-Illinois border. Her body was also never found. She was last seen with somebody matching the description of Larry Hall. So do you see, like, I mean, there's so many of these. There are so many.
I mean, I don't hear any proof yet.
Amen.
Yeah. So there's, I mean,
no, they vanished.
oh, does that not make you sad?
No, they like ran into a cave. They're all having fun together.
March 17th, 1987, a fully clothed body of Linda Weldy, the 10-year-old, is found in a remote area near her home. The coroner told police that Weldy died from manual strangulation, possibly with a leather belt, shortly after she had been abducted. LaPorte police followed over 100 leads in Weldy's abduction and death, but were never able to solve the crime. This is just yet another one that Larry has been implicated in. June 4th of 1987, Wendy Louise Felton, who is 16, disappears from Marion, Indiana. At first, the Grant County Sheriff's Department assumed she ran away because of a suitcase and various clothing items had turned up missing. She disappeared fewer than 25 miles from Wabash, Indiana, where Larry was living at the time, and was located only a few miles away from a Civil War reenactment site that Larry often visited. Felton was discovered dead. So,
Ooh, we found a body.
this is like the fourth body we found. Pay attention, all
Dude,
right?
there's so many. They're just like, oh my god, they're probably
candy.
right.
Piece of candy.
That's what the cops are like. Ooh, piece of candy, dead body.
But that's what I said. I was going to bring you all of the like kind of alleged stories that either he is a prime suspect in, he is admitted to and then denied, or he was nearby in the area and they can prove it. So there's a lot that he's connected to really circumstantially.
It's a
Then
small
there are
town.
some where they're like, no, somebody saw his van, his stupid face, and him with as the last person here. Yeah. There are some where they're just like, yeah, it happened 20 miles from where he lived at the time. So there's some that it's like, yeah, it's a possibility. He's on the list of 40 suspects we have on this cold case. And then there are some where it's like, we're fucking almost positive that he did it. We just can't prove that he did it.
He's a good one.
Did you have something?
I was just going to say, like, we live within probably 10 miles of tons of murders.
Yeah.
That doesn't make us murderers.
Nope, you're absolutely correct. And hey, he wouldn't be on the show if he wasn't a murderer.
Oh,
That's
okay.
just
I get it now.
like, oh yeah, where am I?
That's what we're doing.
So, yeah, September 2nd of 1988, Paulette Webster was 19 and went missing in Chester, Illinois, near a historic landmark that Hall often visited. She is still missing to this day. On September 20th, 1988, Cynthia Louise Carmack, who was 16, was kidnapped near the Fort Hamilton Historical Site in Hamilton, Ohio. Larry is once again a good suspect for this one. She lived, so abducted and lived. December 16th of 1988, a Jane Doe who was between the ages of 20 and 25 was discovered on the east side of the northbound lane of Interstate 59, approximately 5 miles from the Georgia-Alabama state line, Roll Tide. She was mutilated and strangled to death. Question number 5.
How many people did I just list off?
What is a very common location near supposed Hall abductions and murders? Is it A, Civil War reenactment sites, B, shopping malls, C, convenience stores, D, middle or high schools? Yeah, me and my friend Mitch went to middle schools together. Did you just say middle schools?
What was the order again?
A, B, C, D.
Okay, I got it.
Civil War reenactment sites, shopping malls, convenience stores, middle school, high school.
I can't see your eyes over here anymore.
In no particular
Which one is it?
We all guess the same thing.
You guys all said shopping malls?
Nope.
Yeah, you did. There's just a lot of B's. I like how you have a
I
home.
said D.
Oh, sorry.
Shopping
Middle or high
halls.
schools? Did you say mall, Dustin?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all wrong. So glad I get to put zeros for all of these, you fuckers.
You guys all deserve those zeros.
This is where Jesse gets his
Not
joy.
even that's not even a performance based zero. That's just strictly based on your fucking citizenship in the thing here.
That was rough.
Greg, we're trying to save the world. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So let's take a break right here. It's so funny that I wrote this in. It's almost as if I knew this was going to happen. So, let's take a break right here. We're going to come back.
4 questions in. We already have a break.
We're 5 questions in.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes, I felt like this is a good time to take a
That's
break.
a great idea.
Even says in the outline, this is where the wheels come off.
Yep. We'll come back. Greg's got a story, and I got a little something for you guys. We'll each also have a question from those stories. So let's take 5. Let's take 10. Smoke one, Greg.
I feel blessed right now in this moment at my best. Walking down the path of my success. Work for what you want in life, progress. So you know what you signed up for.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Serial Tillers podcast. We've got a couple side stories here. Both Greg and myself have brought one for you. Greg is particularly long. He said he's going to kind of trim, but this story is good, so don't feel like you've got to trim for time. This is the season finale, after all, Greg, so give us the story that you brought and just, break it down for us, motherfucker.
Yeah, okay. You guys know who Charles Lindbergh is?
Yeah, that
Yes.
flew some airplanes like a motherfucker.
Yeah, he was an American aviator, military officer, author, inventor, explorer, and environmental activist. And at age 25 in 1927, he went from obscurity as a U.S. airmail pilot to instantaneous world fame by winning the Orteig Prize,
AKA that guy fucked.
Yeah, making a nonstop flight from Roosevelt Field, Long Island, New York, to Paris, France, 33 and a half hours, 3,600 miles. And I have a bonus question for you guys. It is worth points.
Good.
This is question number 6.
Yeah, the question bonus. The name of the plane that he flew, was it A, the Enola Gay, B, the Spirit of St. Louis, C, the New York Paris Express, or D, Charles's Baby?
What was Krusty's plane called?
That was called the I'm on a Rolla Gay.
Can you stop holding up the fucking Bigfoot sucks card? It distracts the shit out of me. All right, thank you.
The answer was blow it.
What?
Sorry.
Say him again.
Oh my god.
A is Enola Gay, B, the Spirit of St. Louis, C, New York Paris Express, or D, Charles's Baby?
What is the first one?
Enola Gay.
Can you explain that?
Can you just guess one?
She had to pay by the letter, so probably the shortest one.
You stop holding that one up too, you fucker. Dustin made a tiny little C, and both Bigfoot and Paul answered B.
It is B, the Spirit of St. Louis.
Okay,
I feel
so
like I'd actually heard of that.
250.
Enola Gay is a plane. That's a real plane too.
Yeah, what's the Enola Gay? Because I for
Enola
sure.
Gay was the one that dropped the first bomb
That's it.
on Japan.
That's 750 points for Bigfoot, 750 points for Paul, 500 points for Dustin. 6 questions in. Greg, Please do carry on.
So yeah, that's who Charles Lindbergh is. He had a son, Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. And when that son was 20 months old, he was kidnapped around 9 p.m. on March 1st, 1932, from a nursery on the second floor of their house in Hopewell, New Jersey. Crazy thing about it is like everybody was home. Charles was downstairs directly below the baby's room. The mom was in the bath, and the nurse the
nanny.
Yeah, the nanny. Thank you. The nanny that was there in the nursery was had just put the baby down and then like walked out to go clean up some stuff, and then was on her way back to check on the baby and discovered that the baby was not there. Around 10 p.m., that was when they discovered that the baby wasn't there.
When she went to clean up some stuff, was she cleaning up a dead baby?
Not immediately, no.
Fair question.
They discovered the absence around 10 p.m. They searched everywhere immediately, obviously, as you do, and they found a ransom note demanding $50,000, and it was just sitting on the windowsill of the nursery.
Was the window open?
Yes.
That doesn't
Well,
seem very convincing.
It wasn't, but it had been opened. The note was it was poorly written, and it had a bunch of grammar mistakes. The note reads, "Dear Sir!" ! Have $50,000 ready, REDY. 25,000 in $20 bills, 15,000 in $10 bills, and 10,000 in $5 bills. After 2 to 4 days, we will inform you where to deliver the money, MONY. We warn you for making any ding public or for notify the police. The child is in gut care. Indication for all letters are signature, symbol to write, and 3 holes. Holes is spelled HOHLS. Basically, it was like a Venn diagram was the signature. And then on the outside of each circle was a hole, and then in the very center was a hole.
Wait, do that motion again, Greg. What was it? On the outside? No, the outside. Oh, there we go. Yeah. That one.
Yeah, that's the one. So the Hopewell police were notified. The report was telephoned into the New Jersey State Police, who assumed charge of the investigation. During the search at the kidnapping scene, traces of mud were found on the floor of the nursery. Footprints impossible to measure were found under the nursery window. 2 sections of the ladder had been used in reaching the window, or 2 sections of ladder had been used in reaching the window. One of the 2 sections was split or broken where it joined the other, indicating that the ladder had been broken during the ascent or descent. But there were no bloodstains in or about the nursery, and there weren't any fingerprints, so they had nothing to go on. There was the footprints they couldn't measure. They said they thought that they'd used some sort of cloth around the soles of their shoes to make the footprint bigger and dull the edges, so they couldn't get a good measurement. They said they had to have worn gloves, because even on the ransom note there was no traceable fingerprints for anything. I mean, it's the 30s. So
that's really all they had.
They just looked at it and they're like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Or I mean, plus everything was all hard to see. It was all low def and black and white. The household and estate employees were questioned and investigated. Colonel Lindbergh asked friends to communicate with the kidnappers, and they made widespread appeals for the kidnappers to start negotiations. I thought this part was interesting. Various underworld characters were dealt with in attempts to contact the kidnappers, and numerous clues were advanced and exhausted. So basically, in New Jersey in the 30s, the cops are going to the mob and being like, listen, if you know anything, tell us. If you know who did it. We're not saying you guys did it, but we're saying if you know, tell us, because we need to know. And the mob is like, yeah, we don't know nothing. And they pretty much stonewalled him. A second ransom note was received by Colonel Lindbergh on March 6th, 1932, postmarked Brooklyn, New York, March 4th, in which the ransom demand was increased to $70,000. A police conference was then called by the governor at Trenton, New Jersey, which was attended by prosecuting officials, police authorities, and government representatives. Various theories and policies of procedure were discussed. Private investigators were also employed by Colonel Lindbergh's attorney, Colonel Henry Breckenridge. So, now this kidnapping case is a full-blown government investigation.
Because it's he's like one of the biggest celebrities of the time. This is
one of the celebrities ever.
right. So like this is like Paul.
And he's like a worldwide celebrity, not just in the United States.
It's like if LeBron's son goes missing.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to think of someone good. It's
John
like
Benet Ramsey.
What's that?
John Benet Ramsey. That was pretty big.
See, this was
big, but it wasn't because her parents were famous. Like he's
big because she was killed.
But imagine the media coverage that John Benet got, but on a worldwide scale, because Charles Lindbergh was famous all over the world. I mean, people in Paris thought he was the fucking man because he just flew 3,600 miles in 33 and a half hours nonstop. You know what I mean? Like
just pissing and shit.
A third ransom note was received by Colonel Lindbergh's attorney on March 8th, informing that the intermediary appointed by the Lindberghs would not be accepted and requesting a note in the newspaper. They basically like put a thing in the newspaper. Like some guy put a thing in the newspaper and was like, look, I don't know who the kidnapper is. I don't know the Lindberghs, but I will be more than happy to go act as a go-between because I know nobody. So I'm not really invested in this. And Charles Lindbergh was like, yeah, I'm good with it. And the cops were like, yeah, we're good with it. And the kidnapper was like, yeah, we're good with it. And so he became the go-to. He was like a fucking principal.
What?
And, he was the man.
Yeah, right here. On the same date, Dr. John F. Condon, Bronx, New York City, a retired school principal, published in the Bronx Home News an offer to act as a go-between to pay an additional $1,000 ransom. The following, so now a random stranger wants to pay $1,000 ransom to get this kid back.
You want 70,000? How about we give you 71,000?
Yeah, and you don't get to talk to Charles Lindbergh anymore.
But you got to pay taxes, so we're gonna take that 1,000 back.
Okay, thanks.
The following day, the fourth ransom note was received by Dr. Condon, which he indicated he would be acceptable as a go-between. This was approved by Colonel Lindbergh at about March 10th, 1932. Dr. Condon received $70,000 in cash as a ransom and immediately started negotiations for payment through newspaper columns using the code name JAFSIE, Jafsie.
It's a really terrible code name.
Yafsi.
Right. So, yeah, Yafsi, I guess. I don't know, dude.
I don't know either.
I said that confidently.
What part
though.
of the country are we in again?
New Jersey.
It's a hard J. Probably.
Well, you might change your mind. Wait till this story develops.
I'd love to.
About 8:30 p.m. on March 12th, after receiving an anonymous telephone call, Dr. Condon received the fifth ransom note delivered by Joseph Perrone, a taxi cab driver who received it from an unidentified stranger. The message stated that another note would be found beneath a stone at a vacant stand 100 feet away from an outlying subway station. This note, the sixth, was found by Condon as indicated. Following instructions therein, the doctor met an unidentified man who called himself, quote unquote, John, at Woodlawn Cemetery near 233rd Street and Jerome Avenue. They discussed payment for the ransom money. The stranger agreed to furnish a token of the child's identity, and Condon was accompanied by a bodyguard, except while talking to John during the next few days. Dr. Condon repeated his advertisements, urging further contact and stating his willingness to pay the ransom. So he actually went and met this guy, and
just like he read about the story in the newspaper and was like, I got to be a part of this. Like I feel like,
and 100% involved himself, and like all parties were like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. We're good with that.
So weird.
Yeah.
Most
So
murderers or something like insert themselves into
try to.
investigations.
Yeah.
Saw it on TV.
Yeah. David
So
Berkowitz,
they
for
got
sure.
it. They got a token of the baby's identity. They got a sleeping suit, and a seventh ransom
Sleeping
note.
suit.
Yeah, like in the 30s, they used to put babies in those like little like what Maggie Simpson wears.
Oh, okay.
That's called a onesie.
Not in 1932.
Let's call it a sleeping suit, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get your jargon.
Oh, you were there
right.
in 1932, Dustin? You just know what it's
Picture like
called?
a Barney Stinson sleeping suit.
More or less.
Okay. So they said like here, like this is how we prove that we have this baby.
Right. This is we have this, and then they gave another ransom note. The suit was delivered to Colonel Lindbergh and later identified. Condon continued his advertisements, and the eighth ransom note was received by Condon on March 21st, insisting on complete compliance and advising that the kidnapping had been planned for a year. So apparently this kid who's 20 months old has had a bounty on his head for the last 12 of those months.
It's good planning.
How much do you have to plan to kidnap a child?
Well, if you're gonna
do it to the most famous person in the world, probably a lot.
I mean, at
All you have
least
to do
more
is
than,
wear
like-
gloves and put cloth on your shoes, apparently.
Yeah.
March 29th, Betty Gao, the Lindbergh nurse, found the infant's thumb guard worn at the time of the kidnapping near the entrance to the estate. The following day, the 9th ransom note was received by Condon, threatening to increase the demand to $100,000 and refusing a code for use in the newspaper columns. Basically, he's getting wild with it and threatening to cut off communication unless they pay more. The 10th ransom note was received by Dr. Condon on April 1st, 1932. It instructed him to have the money ready the following night, to which Condon replied by an ad in the press. The 11th ransom note was delivered to Condon on April 2nd by an unidentified taxi driver who said he received it from an unknown man. Dr. Condon found the 12th ransom note under a stone in front of a greenhouse at 3225 East Tremont Avenue in Bronx, New York, as instructed in the 11th note. So this guy's just like on a treasure hunt, following ransom notes to other ransom notes to give him instructions and all this crazy shit.
What's funny to me is like kind of like what Paul was just saying as far as like someone inserting. You're saying like, and he found the 12th ransom note under a rock. Like, oh man, it just seems so like
National Treasure only had like 4 clues. So these dudes, they used that full year.
I mean, was he being instructed to go find it underneath that rock? I guess it's okay.
Yeah, so it would like
I'm gonna look under that rock.
Yeah, and the one note
found
they said there's a stone next to an outlying stand at the subway station. So he like went to that outlying stand, found the stone, picked the stone up, found the other ransom note underneath.
I see.
Which gave him further instruction. He's just on a fucking scavenger hunt.
I just thought he was like, I better check under this rock.
Oh no.
What? The 12th ransom note? What the hell?
It's so weird.
Okay, sorry.
And I found them all in order too.
Fantastic. It's like when a video game comes together.
So this game's linear.
Shortly thereafter, on the same evening following the instructions contained in the 12th note, Condon again met who he believed to be quote-unquote John to reduce the demand to $50,000. This amount was handed to the stranger in exchange for a receipt and the 13th note containing instructions to the effect that the kidnapped child could be found on a boat named Nellie near Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. The stranger then walked north into the park woods. The following day, an unsuccessful search for the baby was made near Martha's Vineyard. The search was later repeated, and Dr. Condon was positive that he would recognize John if he ever saw him again. So they officially got, like, the money has been handed off. They're out $50K, and no sign of the baby.
But their go-between's like, I know what this motherfucker looks like now, though. Like, I could identify him.
Right. And he later would. He gave descriptions to the police, and they sketched it out, and they got it pretty. I mean, if you look at the mugshot, eventually, it's pretty fucking accurate. On May 12, 1932, the body of the kidnapped baby was accidentally found, partly buried and badly decomposed, about 4.5 miles southeast of the Lindbergh home, 45 feet from the highway near Mount Rose, New Jersey, in Mercer County. The discovery was made by William Allen, an assistant on a truck driven by Orville Wilson. The head was crushed. There was a hole in the skull, and some of the body members were missing. The body was positively identified and cremated in Trenton, New Jersey on May 13th, 1932, and the coroner's examination showed that the child had been dead for about 2 months, and the death was caused by a blow to the head.
So, like, the whole time that it was missing, it was probably
much.
just been dead since the time that it was taken.
More or less, yeah.
And does it sound like the limbs missing were more animals pulling at the kid, or I can't imagine the person that just bashed in the head also ripped some limbs off and shit.
My takeaway from it is that he's 45 feet from a freeway, so he was digging a shallow grave and throwing a baby in it, and it was partially buried, so that it was probably completely buried at one point. But like you said, animals came up and got pieces and parts and stuff like that.
Woof.
But that's why it's still partially buried.
Yeah.
So the investigation is the really crazy part of this whole thing. The extent that they went to for this. This is kind of the stuff I'm gonna kind of glaze over because I know it's getting long. But they did like good old fashioned detective work to catch this guy. They had a description from the principal. And they basically, when they gave the ransom money, they used money that had been taken out of circulation like on purpose. Remember when everybody turned in all the gold notes?
Yeah, when it switched off the gold standard.
Right. So $40,000 that they gave back to this guy as ransom money was gold notes with all the serial numbers marked. So if this stuff ever showed up in circulation,
They know where it came from.
exactly where it came from. And it was showing up in circulation. And at first it was really hard for them to get. So they canvassed all the banks and all the stores in the area and told them, if you see a gold note come in, you need to say something immediately.
See something, say something, bro.
More or less, yeah.
Unless
And
it
I mean,
costs
they
you
were
extra.
doing like, when I say like good old fashioned police work, like they called in a private investigator and he called in a guy from the Forest Service and they came in and investigated the ladder that was used and like used various samples. It took various samples of the different types of wood because this ladder was like slapdash together. You know what I mean? It was like made quickly.
I think there's pictures of it. Like it looks very like when you and your buddies are like building a tree house at 10 or 11 and you're like, man, it's like 15 feet up. Like we can't just climb this tree every time. We need to make a ladder.
Yeah,
It looks like
it was
the result of that.
it was mismatched pieces of wood and, you know, parts were shaved down to make it work and stuff like that. So when they're doing the investigation, you know, the tools that were used, the investigator that they called in was able to identify the various types of wood and identify the tools that were used to make the ladder. And they found the tools in this guy's house. They found the same wood that was used for the ladder was used to make the floor in his attic. So this guy, he had a bunch of circumstantial evidence stacked up against him, not to mention the fact that he looked exactly like the sketch.
Why not, if you're going to cobble together a ladder, just maybe go steal the wood from somewhere else?
Or just get a really tall dude to give you a boost.
Yeah, that's true.
And then when they arrested him, he had they started following the trail of the gold notes that were used or the gold certificates that were used, and they eventually narrowed it down to this one dude, and they followed him to his house and they watched him go inside and they saw him and they were like, this guy matches the description given for John. This guy matches the description given for the person that's been using the gold certificates. This guy is our guy. And he was arrested by three agencies at once. Like when he came out, it was like the New Jersey Police Department, the FBI, and I forget who else.
Interpol.
It wasn't Interpol, but they definitely totally got the guy. And one of the guys that was in charge of the whole investigation, the superintendent for the New Jersey Police Department, was Norman Schwarzkopf, the father of General Norman Schwarzkopf from Operation Desert Storm. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Snip, snap.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a good read. Like they went through the IRS and got a bunch of stuff done with the IRS, trying to track down anybody who'd be making major deposits that would match, and then like banks that would match the gold certificate serial numbers and stuff like that.
And it's like so pre-computers that you know that they're literally like having to go to every single place that
they straight up had to record $40,000 in silver certificate serial numbers by hand and like count them out and mark where they're going. And they did the push pin in the map. Like every time they found one, it was used at this gas station.
It looked like Charlie Kelly's mailroom.
More or less, yeah. So yeah, read more about the Lindbergh baby. It's a crazy fucking story. That's the end of my freaking report.
Good job, Russ. Yeah, man, it's a fucking crazy story. And you're right. Like you could turn that into a whole episode. There are podcasts that turn into multiple episodes. It's a crazy fucking story. It's
There's a
super
lot of
fucking sad
stuff that I left out.
Yeah. Like, a baby getting its head smashed in is never a fun story either. So
I've noticed that
Best
people
kind of
tend to
baby.
do like child death as the side stories on this show.
what was
Yeah.
that?
People always have a tendency to bring like child death as a side story on this show. And for whatever reason, every story that I bring seems to bring people down. Everybody's left feeling bummed out when I'm done, so I thought I'd bring a child death story.
Because you can't win them all anyway. So, well, thanks, Greg. I actually am fascinated by that story. So when you said you were going to do it, I was actually surprised we hadn't had anybody that had had done that yet.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. There's
yeah.
a lot of moving
Go
parts.
look at some of the photos. Look at that fucking stupid janky ladder and how high up the window was that they had to like get to. It was not like
it was I mean, you'd think a nice like high end house built in the 1930s. That motherfucker was huge.
Like think about getting to the second floor windows at the Fresh Prince's house. You know what I'm saying? These weren't just like at 11 feet. So yeah, man, it's a crazy story. Mine is, it's so much less a story as more just a really quick update, but it does have a question involved. Question number 7. I've got an update for you. Of these 4 cases, which case do I have an update for? Is it A, the Jean Bonnet case, B, a Zodiac update, C, a Ted Bundy update, ooh, Netflix special, or D, a Las Vegas shooter update? Don't get Greg started.
I know what I want it to be.
Is it Jean Bonnet, Zodiac, Ted Bundy, or Las Vegas shooter? Okay. Two Zodiacs from Bigfoot and Paul. Dustin says Ted Bundy. Nobody wants the Las Vegas shooter like Greg. But that's where the points would be because I have a Las Vegas shooter update. No points for anybody on question number 7. Zeros all the way around. Greg, are you excited to hear about this?
If it, I've been sort of keeping up on the case, so I'm curious to see what you got that I don't.
I'm not. You probably already know. It's not even an article.
It was planned.
I mean, there is an article, but
people were targeted.
I'm gonna read you. Shut up. I'm gonna read
Same
you.
propaganda we've always heard.
Yeah, like I said, the first thing I said. Shut up.
I'm sorry.
So this is. I'm really just gonna read you a headline. We'll post the article later. It's a Fox News article. The headline simply says, "Las Vegas shooting still a mystery as FBI closes investigation." So the investigation has been officially closed on the. I wonder how much comped sushi is still going around.
Oh God, thousands of dollars of sushi comped.
Bigfoot has an interjection.
I just have a qualm with your source of Fox News.
Yeah,
it's the only source that's reporting on it right now, but
because they're lying to you.
Why do you think I didn't fucking read the article?
Don't watch the news.
Asshole!
Don't
I gave
watch
you
the
a
news.
fucking headline.
Now, if it was AP News,
brainwashed you.
all right.
No,
BuzzFeed.
It
This is
happened a while ago.
BuzzFeed.
I remember reading about that when it happened, and I was upset then, and I'm upset now because I think that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. And
Greg got hot to trot on this case, dude. Like, there were nights where I was muting him on Xbox.
that's not even a joke. I've got folders and files and shit like that, and I mean, it's just it's horse shit. The fact that they closed the case without,
It's closed case. So I just thought that was interesting, especially knowing how like
case closed, pack it up, boys. We did a good job. We're done here.
Yeah, like how into the case Greg got. That's why I kind of wanted to bring it as a quick thing. Like, there's not a lot in the article really. There's a lot of the things like, I mean, honestly, message Greg. If you get him on a good day, he'll probably talk to you for a little bit about this case and give you some what for. So
yeah, I can keep going.
So let's get back into Larry Hall. I only have like 9 more pages. So March 11th, 1989, we're getting right back into victims, you guys. Andrea Bowman, who was 15, was last seen near Holland, Michigan. Larry Hall was considered a suspect because he was known to have cruised the cities between these towns in the US 31 in Indiana and Michigan looking for victims. Bowman is still at large. So another one that I will just answer for Bigfoot and say that he's going to say, nah, it didn't happen. But that's what they're saying. They think Larry Hall's involved, man. And whether you like it or not,
they thought wrong, sucker.
Casey's got all the answers in case you ain't know. June 26, 1989, still missing Lynn Ann Thompson was 26 and last seen in Prairie Creek, Indiana. Her car was found in the Kmart parking lot in Terre Haute, Indiana, near a reenactment site that Hall regularly visited. On August 5th, 1989, he's now 26 years old, and a still missing Tracy Marie Crow, who was 17, goes missing on this day. Crow's car was found in Millersburg, Pennsylvania town square, and her purse was missing, but there was no indication of foul play on or around the vehicle. Her ID, National Honor Society card, and other parts of her wallet were found in a remote area in Wisconsin Creek, Washington Township, 9 miles from her home. The case went cold, and Larry is a person of interest, if you can believe that. He's a person of interest in a lot of crimes, it seems.
It's all circumstance.
He's just a really interesting guy.
So you've converted Paul.
Oh, he didn't have to. I'm always the skeptic. Until you beat a dog, I'm probably on your side.
You beat dogs?
No, listen to the last episode.
On July 17th, 1990, another alleged victim, Barrett Beck, who was 18, her car GMC van was found by Fond du Lac, Wisconsin police, parked in the parking lot of question number 8. The parking lot of what store? There is no multiple choice. This is for 500 points if you can get it. It's a store you would know. Just know that. Bigfoot says Sears. Paul and Dustin say Walmart. Nobody's going to score any points on this one because her car was found in the parking lot of a Kmart. Oh. You guys were in the area with the marts.
Well, technically Sears and Kmart are,
but no.
But which one went out of business?
Both.
As of today, both.
They both suck.
Yeah, so we can stop talking about department stores.
Sad day.
Yeah,
Woolworths.
You don't drive by there anymore
used to
because
have
there's
good
no
food.
pharmacy anymore.
It was Woolworths.
I don't go to pharmacies.
Was it Montgomery Ward?
Often.
Remember Gimbals?
Oh, you go to elementary schools?
You said Montgomery Ward.
Get them all young.
Okay, so her car was found in a Kmart parking lot. There was a receipt found from Walgreens at 11:02 a.m., and her purse was still in the van with her clothes. Police suspected foul play from Beck's disappearance, and police wondered how someone could go missing in broad daylight. Her body was found Wednesday, August 22nd, 1990, by a farmer in a ditch near Waupun, Wisconsin. She had been gagged with a red bandana, and authorities believe she was sexually assaulted and strangled. They additionally believe that our boy, Larry Hall, was somehow involved. Bigfoot's just going to break his neck from shaking his head no over there. July 20th, 1990, another Jane Doe, who was approximately 25 years old, was found. The cause of death was multiple stab wounds to the neck and torso. Autopsy revealed that she had been sexually mutilated in a very similar way to what Larry has done in the past. The killer removed her reproductive organs completely. While the mutilation was on par for Larry, the stabbing was not. Larry was a strangle from behind kind of guy, yet still Larry is considered a suspect in this case as well. March 2nd, 1991, Julie Dalton Johnson, who is 29, drove a light blue Chevrolet that was found abandoned along Indiana State Road 22 near County Road 300E in Howard County. She had taken her 4 children to a movie Friday evening, took them home and tucked them in, and then disappeared. Her husband reported her missing on Saturday, and her car was found less than 35 miles from Larry's home in Wabash.
I just want to give a hot take. I think all these alleged crimes were actually his brother.
You guys want another Gary clip?
I'd love one.
Now, Gary stopped defending Larry
Get ready.
and started talking.
Larry, just like Jimmy King calls him, and he's a baby killer.
You think your brother is a baby killer?
I don't have no doubt in my mind.
Do you think your brother killed more than Jessica Roach?
Yes.
Do you think your brother killed Trisha Reitler?
Yes.
Raina Ryson? Michelle Dewey?
Yes.
As Gary started talking more openly, detectives approached him, asking for help.
I went with the Indianapolis detectives down to try to get my brother to confess. He made me leave the room. He did, in fact, confess on tape to 15 serial murders.
Larry later retracted again. And while he can't ever seem to stick to one story,
Gary could have done all of these as far as I'm concerned. Gary has got some serious weird shit.
I didn't know there was an L in the word yes.
Yeah, yells. So yeah, I wish I had more Gary clips for you guys because they're all just fucking gold. But there are some of these alleged ones too, where they believe that like the crime couldn't have been committed by one person. So
Close brothers.
We already talked about Eiffel Towering necrophilia. Yeah. So July 1st.
We've all been there.
July 1st, 1991. He's now 28 years old. Michelle Dewey, who was 20, was murdered by strangulation and had been cut. She was found in Indianapolis, Indiana. She was sunbathing with her son and was waiting for the sitter. The sitter called police after seeing blood, and the son was found in a closet untouched. Hall visited Indianapolis that day after seeing a sales ad for a 1980 blue Dodge van. They think that he spotted Dewey in the yard sunbathing, then went into her house and murdered her. So they can put him like in the neighborhood checking out a new van and her being fucking killed. And So
What kind of van though?
A Dodge van. July 25th, 1991, Larry Hall admits to picking up a woman in Claremont in the west side of Indianapolis. He remembered the woman did not want to go with him and that she had to be forced. And there's this silly thing that I remember about this story here is that she did not want to get in the van. So tell you what I did is I made her.
She did not want the candy.
He doesn't sound like that. Gary definitely sounds and looks like the fucking creepy one. So good for you, Gary, for getting away with it. January 9th, 1962. Yells. Holly Ann Anderson was 18. Her body was found in a field along CR 1450, and the site was near Perryville, Indiana. She was stabbed at least twice in the chest and had been there for about 2 hours when she was found. She was found less than 2 miles from where Hall confessed he dumped Jessica Roach later. On June 3rd, 1992, a Jane Doe was found in Berks County, Pennsylvania, near Lynn Hartsville, and Hall is suspected in the disappearance of this Jane Doe as well. June 7th, 1992, Stacy McCall, who was 18, Suzanne Streeter, who was 19, and Cheryl Levitt all go missing in Springfield, Missouri. The two younger girls had graduated the night before. Streeter and Levitt live in Springfield, and witnesses saw a blonde driving an older Dodge van later on Sunday. The witness said an unseen male voice told her not to do anything stupid. Larry Hall had a Dodge van similar to the witnesses' accounts. So here you go, boys. This Dodge van's going to get some fucking mileage, both literally and murder figuratively. On August 19th, 1992, Lori Deppies, who was 20, was out in Fox River Mall, not far from the US 41. Lori parked her car and disappeared completely. Her overnight bag and purse were locked in her car, and a Civil War reenactment was held at Grinson Mansion at Kokona, Wisconsin, 3 days before her abduction, which is just 10 miles away from where she vanished, and Deppies is mentioned in Larry Hall's diary later. He has this really weird kind of semi-cryptic diary. I didn't really dive too much into it because it really just, it's him describing what they find in his truck or in his van later, but he writes a little bit about, like, he has like shopping lists. One literally says like, no skin-to-skin contact, buy condoms, buy new leather belt, buy trash bags, get tarps, put tarp up in van. Like,
he's just a neat freak, bro.
Yeah, but also he's not like really high. Like, if you're a neat freak, maybe you keep those things hidden or in your brain.
He's got OCD.
Yeah.
Perhaps it seems like a counterintuitive to keeping yourself
Have you
hidden.
not seen You?
I have, unfortunately, now.
Sounds like a similar fella.
I was gonna say, is this what they based Dexter on?
Yeah.
Similar but different.
So, August 29th, 1992, Tony Spicer, who was 27, left her job at the Hip Hugger in Kokomo, Indiana at 3 a.m. and was found dead in her home at 7 a.m. by a babysitter who was dropping off her children. The location is a short drive from where Julie Johnson disappeared in 1991 and less than 30 miles from Wabash. They believe similar situation that he may have been watching her. The Hip Hugger is an exotic dancing lounge. They believe that he may have been in the club that night, followed her home, realized she was alone, and
He was just hugging hips, bro.
Yeah, just hugging hips. January 17th, 1983, Laura Lynn Thompson went missing from Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Although Hall was a potential suspect at one point in time, Joseph Marshall and Sean McDonough would later be charged with Thompson's murder. So there you go, Bigfoot. Someone else is getting charged for murder that they thought was him for something. So,
Well, it's about time.
yeah, someone's getting some fucking answers.
Clearly, he's innocent. All of this.
I know. God damn it, you fucking mouth breathers. It's so goddamn hot in here. March 26th, 1993, alleged victim Raina Ryson, who was 16 years old, worked at the Pine Lake Animal Hospital in LaPorte, Indiana, and was last seen by the receptionist at 6 p.m. Her car was found with the doors locked and the keys in the ignition, and the purse was found on front of the seat and her hood was up, but there were no problems with the car. Her hair barrel was found next to the car. It's like a curling thing.
Iron.
Yeah. It was found next to the car, and her boyfriend's jacket was found 6 miles from the car. Officers say the jacket was not there during the search. Fishermen found her body fully clothed and floating near a pond. Someone tried to conceal the body with branches, and she had been strangled but not sexually assaulted. Later, they will find something with her name on it in Larry's possession. What is it going to be? Question number 9. Is it A, a library card, B, a social security card, C, a driver's license, or D, a prescription? Notice I no longer say library or tamari.
Ever since you got the crayon removed from your brain?
Yeah. Okay, Paul and Bigfoot both say library. Oh, Social Security. You said library, right?
Did.
Paul said library. Bigfoot says Social Security. Dustin. Oh, also said library. Okay, sorry. 2 libraries. Dustin said prescription.
It's one of those two.
Yep. Dustin's got 250 points and closing back into the game because, yes, they found her prescription. What happened?
No, I was messing around.
Paper cut?
My knife.
Your knife. You all right over there, buddy? Do we need to halt?
I'm going to pass it.
Casey's bleeding.
Nobody makes him bleed his own blood, but himself.
No one makes me bleed my own blood.
Okay, so yeah, they found prescription birth control with her name on it at some point in 1994 when they would pull over Larry Hall and search his car. They found birth control with the name R. Ryson on it.
R was the abbreviation for ricin, which is the poison?
So it was Ryson?
It's Ryerson.
No. Her last name's Ryson. So March 29th, 1993, alleged victim Trisha Lynn Reifler was 19. She was a freshman at Wesleyan University in Marion, Indiana. She left her dorm around 8 p.m. to shop at the nearby supermarket. She purchased a root beer and a Family Circle magazine and has never been seen since. Hall confessed to her murder, but would later recant his confession. So, he's feeling bad, you guys. He's admitting to some shit.
Who else thinks that it's just not true?
Any of it?
Yeah.
He's just a glory hog.
Yeah.
Score update. Dustin has 750. Paul has 750. Bigfoot has 750. It is a 3-way tie. 9 questions in. Here we go, dudes. Don't worry, there's a hellagreg challenge coming up. April 6, 1993, Heather Edgett, who was 20, and Christian Zoller, who were 19, were coming home from the store and heading back from Wesleyan University, where they noticed a brown and tan Dodge van following them. At one point, the van pulled up next to them, and the driver tried to talk to the women. At that point, they ran back to campus and called a security guard. The security guard, a former police officer, followed the van and pulled Larry Hall over, where Larry gave an address to a friend's house that he was trying to find. However, when Beck contacted police for help with the address, he found that it was a fake address. Having not committed any crimes, however, Larry was let go. It's creepy as fuck to pull up on chicks and try to talk to them, but it's not illegal. So,
just because it's not illegal doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's creepy by today's standards, but back then, like, you didn't have Facebook, you didn't have Tinder. Like, that's how it worked, right?
It's still the early 90s. It's not like, I mean,
No, everybody went down and made those video dating services,
That's
right? Isn't
real.
that how it went down?
Or the misconnection section in the newspaper.
Mr. Alcala.
Forward expectation.
party lines.
Yeah, all of those things. September 20th, 1993, Jessica Roach, who was 15, was last seen alive by her sister Mindy as she was going to the store in Georgetown, Illinois. Her sister said that she was walking down the road with her bike, and when her sister returned from the store, she called out for Jessica and got no answer, which is very unusual. A bus driver, Daryl Morgan, was passing by, as he did every afternoon, and saw a bike lying in the middle of the road, which he thought was very unusual because it was a very nice bike, and things like that generally didn't happen in this area.
Shocks, pegs, lucky.
Mindy asked her parents if they had heard from Jessica. When they said no, along with the bus driver's report, the police department quickly organized a search party after the disappearance of Holly Ann Anderson. On November 8th of 1993, investigator Miller received a phone call from Vermilion County about the decomposed remains of a girl's body that had been found in a cornfield approximately 15 feet off of County Road 1300 North. On November 9th of 1993, the decomposed body was taken to Dr. Roland Core for a medical examination and was later positively identified as Jessica Roach, the girl that had gone missing, the 15-year-old. Her autopsy showed that she had a broken jaw, probably caused by someone punching her. On December 6, 1993, a Jane Doe was found in Centerville, Fairfax County, Virginia. Hall is also going to be suspected in this murder. Dog, I'm telling you, when I list off all these Jane Does, I took out a dozen or more. These are just ones that seem to line up and make more sense than the ones that I took out. Because I was like you too, like...
That's a lot of alleged.
Yes, but I took out all the ones that didn't feel right or felt like, why would he be there? Or like, what kind of... A lot of there's a map you can follow, and you can like almost see it going like this. You can like see someone driving to these locations and just kind of picking them up. So it's bizarre. And who the fuck knows, man? Who the fuck knows, man? May 29th, 1994. Amy Baker was out rollerblading when she noticed a brown and tan van passing her numerous times. Well, you love the van.
No, it was the rollerblading.
Oh,
part.
yeah. This is 1994,
90s.
so she was probably like wearing neon pink and shit. She was noticing the van was stopping or slowing down each time that it passed her and getting closer each time as well. She saw a motorist whom she knew and stopped the car and told them that if they didn't hear from her in 45 minutes, to contact her parents and have them call the police with the description. Why not just get in the car and go with them? Right?
That's too
you know,
easy.
like, I don't mean to victim blame, but
He
that's
didn't
just
have the right candy.
right. And you know, like, I don't have shoes right now. It's just my skates. So
Are you still bleeding?
I am still bleeding.
So she was also skating near where Holly Ann Anderson would later be found. Baker remembered the license plate number 85B3752. It was registered to a tan and brown Dodge van, registered to the name Larry Hall. So, you know, connect this motherfucker. May 29th of 1994, Abby Marriage, who was 13, and Kaylin Hoskins, who were 15, were riding their bikes when they noticed a tan van with brown stripes following closely behind them. This motherfucker. The girls cut through an alley to avoid the van and go to Kaylin's house. Abby called her grandfather when she got to the house, and he called the police. Abby's parents went out looking for the van, and when they found the van, the driver turned off his lights because he knew that they were watching. The van tried to escape, but got stopped at a red light. Abby's mother called the police and gave them the license plate, which was registered to none other than our boy, Larry Hall. So, and a lot of these before, again, you know, they're like alleged, but these are like, adults are seeing this vehicle that's like, hey, girls, what are you doing? I just passed a few
That's
times.
Gary's
I'm
voice.
wondering what you're up to. Well, you know
I
what?
got some Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah, listen how they clack against my teeth.
The thing that I found funny about that is like he's out committing murders, but he's gonna stop at a red light. I can't run a red light.
Well, hey, man, you never know.
That's immoral.
We'll only break one law at a time.
So yeah, it is bizarre, man. May 30th, 1994, Officer Neil Pence stopped Larry Hall after he had driven past some girls several times. So he's going to be pulled over once again. This is when they're going to find
Related to Mike Pence?
who knows?
They're in Indiana.
Maybe. They pull over the van. This is when they find the ricin prescription with her name on it.
On the library card.
Nope. Additionally, question number 10. They're going to search the van completely and find a few interesting items. There are 6 items on this list. Only one of them was not in the van. Okay, so here's 6. Give me the one item that was not actually in the van. Was it A, tarp, B, knives, C, rope, D, starting fluid, E, zip ties, or F, a ski mask? Tarp, knives, rope, starting fluid, zip ties, ski mask, one of those things was not actually in the van.
One more time through real quick.
Tarp, knives, rope, starting fluid, zip ties, ski mask. Dustin says there's no starting fluid. Paul said there was no knives.
Ski mask.
No ski mask. So did Bigfoot.
It was a 6, not a B.
Oh, I see. I thought it was a B.
You got that feel.
Yep. And Bigfoot also says no ski mask.
Dude, stop.
But
there was a ski mask.
There were no zip ties in the van. It was just the tarp, the knives, the rope, the starting fluid, the ski mask, along with some other things like, let's see, here's the list. Unusual items such as a spray can of starting fluid, a cotton mask, cotton balls, a plastic tarp, some knives, and a length of rope.
Normal stuff.
I was going to guess harmonica.
Harmonica.
You got to sing the blues after you kill somebody, you know?
No. Heavy metal.
While searching the van, officers found a lot of newspaper articles about Trisha Reitler and a piece of Indiana Wesleyan University stationery with Reitler's name printed on it. Hall was arrested by police and confessed to killing Trisha Reitler. He would later recant this confession. He was later released and considered a wannabe serial killer after failing to find a place where he told police that he had buried her. And essentially, they didn't believe anything that he said. They thought he was a fake serial killer, like he was confessing to a crime that he didn't commit. He couldn't get correct any of the proper details or anything. But think about isn't that what you would be doing? But instead of being like, I didn't do it, he's like, yeah, I did it. Here's how I did it. And they're like, that's not how it was fucking done. This guy doesn't know anything. And so he's like, I know where the body is. And he takes him out and takes him to where there is no body. And they're like, Get this fucking guy out of here. This guy's not a fucking killer. And they let him go.
Smart.
Wolves did it.
What's that?
Wolves did it. That's
Yeah.
why there's no body.
Maybe. Yeah. So they essentially let him go as a wannabe serial killer. So they fucking let him go. May 31st, 1994, he's going to stalk Ashley Davis, Tisha Moore, Danielle Marshall, and Melissa Selleck. While they were walking in Wabash City Park, they noticed a brown and tan van driving next to them. The driver asked them if they wanted to go for a ride. The girls got scared and ran to Ashley's house. And her mother yelled at the man as he was driving off. Melissa Selleck told police after the incident that the man had dark hair and a beard and had tried 2 other times to coax her into his van. Her father went looking for the van and found the same van in which was registered to Larry fucking Hall. This guy is everywhere. So it's like you've been on episodes where it's like this, where where they're constantly being caught, but nothing is fucking happening. His, it's like they're seeing him, but he's not really doing anything illegal. He's kind of being like creepy and being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But like,
creepy's not illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
So yeah, the girls ran. The father finds the van. He gets a license plate number. Tells police it is a van registered to Larry Hall. Police are going to search a barn that they find Larry Hall finding near. He's been using it to work on his vehicles, and they found straps suspended in the barn that were thought to have been used as restraints to hold people just slightly off the ground. Larry Hall would later admit that like the way that he liked to rape women when he did it was to like tie them to a tree and have them lifted slightly off the ground. So they think that they found a spot where he was taking them like in this abandoned barn and working on vehicles and raping victims. So in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Donda Renee Martino, who was 32, was talking with her sister when she said she was going to run to the store and told her she'd call her when she returned. No one has ever heard from her ever since. The following day, there was a family party and Dondra never showed up, which was very concerning, and the family knew something was wrong. Her husband said he hadn't seen her since she left for the store, and there are various Civil War battles that take place around this region. So it's just another thing that possibly ties Larry Hall, unless your name is Bigfoot, which you don't believe in that shit.
Good for you.
July 15th, 1994... Sarah Ray Bohm, who was 14, was on her way to a friend's house in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, but she never made it. Police first thought that she was a runaway. However, her family and friends knew that she was not and could not be. A hunter found skeletal remains near Deerfield, Ohio, at Berlin Lake in Portage County. In May of 2001, FBI agents obtained a DNA sample from Sarah Bohm's mother and submitted the sample for lab testing. And in 2003, the remains found were identified as Sarah Bohm.
Was that 2 years later they were like, oh yeah, no, by the way?
Well, the DNA sample they got from her mom, and they had to like track down the DNA sample that they had taken kind of pre-DNA from the crime scene. That was from 1994. And yes, 2 years it was tested, and yes, it was committed. So it's getting a little dark. We're going to stop for a second, do a hellagreg challenge number 1 ever. There's been artistic challenges and tiebreaker challenges. This is going to be something we're going to look forward to every episode. So this is hellagreg challenge number 1 for question number 11. This is 4 points. Hellagreg.
Yes.
Welcome.
What is their challenge?
It's an artistic challenge, much like the tiebreakers. You guys should all be familiar with.
So use the backside of a note card. Give yourself the blank side.
Yeah, and I know Dustin's an artist. I know Casey's an artist. Paul, I have seen a little bit of your drawings in Sitch.
It's nice of you to call them drawings.
Yeah,
it's not about the best drawings. Nate won with stick figures. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah, so it's about pandering to your judge. Mm-hmm. But you guys, I just want you guys to draw the inside of his van. Or draw the van itself, but like I want to see kind of inside.
So we don't have to. We're not going to get the answer to this one right now. I'm going to leave question 11 blank on here. We'll pull up the answers before we get to the end here. We'll have you guys all turn these in so you can work on these. Make sure you continue listening because I know it's so important to the show.
Hey, Greg. Side note: what's your Venmo? Just curious.
Probably hellagreg, I think.
Oh, weird.
Keep trying though. If you don't find it under hellagreg, check. Greg is probably in there.
Okay, so on July 24th, 1994, Natasha Crockett, who was 13, and her sister Nicole were 10, were playing with their cousins across from their home when they noticed a brown and tan colored van parked across the street, looking quite suspicious. The driver was writing something down, and the van pulled up to the girls and asked them if they knew where Woodlawn Street was. So just if you happen to be a child listening to this right now, you may have heard this as advice on other true crime shows. Adults don't need your help. They never will, and they never should. If an adult does need your help, get another adult and tell them to help them. If you don't feel good, tell that adult who you don't know, listen, mister, please get the fuck away from me. This is Jesse from the Serial Chillers podcast telling you that's okay to say. As a child, an adult will not and should not need your help. Please don't help adults.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So, the girls run from this fucking van that seems to be everywhere around Indiana and Illinois at this point. They say no to the man who asks them if they know where Woodlawn Street is. As you should, children. Remember what we said. They run into their home, and the young ladies tell their parents about this creepy-ass fucking van and that it was driving by their house. The parents got the license plate number. The van registered to our friend Larry Hall. August 8th, 1994, Still missing, Shailene Marie Farrell, who was 18, left her home in Piqua, Ohio, to go to a Pick and Save grocery store. Her 1981 Chevy was found in the parking lot of that store, and she has never been found.
Can you tell me what I'm supposed to draw again? I feel like
The inside of his van.
That's it.
Yep.
Why are you guys still going?
August 21st, 1994. Alleged victim. The nude body of Catherine Menendez, who was 17, and is a rising high school senior in Beloit, Ohio, was found by a gas company employee near the Berlin Reservoir in nearby Portage County. The autopsy showed that she had been raped, tortured, sexually mutilated, and strangled to death. In the November that followed, the remains of Sarah Boehm were found less than a mile from where the Menendez body was dumped. Less than 2 months after the killing, the Menendez, another girl, was found murdered in Rochester, Indiana, with similar mutilation injuries. On October 9th, 1994, Carrie Ann Smith, who was 20, was found on the north side of the Tippecanoe River. She was seen in South Bend, Indiana last, where she lived. An autopsy revealed that Smith had been beaten, strangled, and sexually mutilated. Police speculated on where Smith had been murdered because there was no evidence on the bridge or riverbanks that it had taken place there. The following month, the FBI found a note in Larry's van mentioning Menominee, a public access area less than half a mile upstream from where Carrie Smith was found. So he's got this very cryptic journal that they find, and they can't really make sense of a lot of it. But they can kind of put him in areas and kind of see from his writings where he is and what his mindset is in a lot of these things. October 22nd of 1994, Nicole Brucker and Danielle Mullins are both 14 and visiting a nearby store when a van pulls into the parking lot. The girls are immediately creeped out by the van, take off running, and the man follows the van asking them, "Why are you guys running? Don't you need a ride?" So, like, you know, as somebody,
question.
may I just also give a tip to any of my van driving listeners out there? And somebody just takes
Curtis.
off. If somebody just takes off running from the side of you and your van, don't follow them and ask them why they're running.
He's got a Dodge, too.
Just let them run, Curtis. October 28th, 1994, Detective Sergeant Jeff Whitmer and of the Wabash County City Police Department received a fax from Gary Miller of the Vermilion County Sheriff's Department. The message stated that Miller was interested in discussing 2 attempted abductions in Georgetown, Illinois. Did Wabash police know a man named Larry Hall? Miller told Whitmer that, in fact, both attempted abduction young girls had identified a brown and tan van with a license number 85B3752. When he ran the plates, he found it was registered to Larry Hall. He also told them about the unsolved murder of Jessica Roach, and Whitmer knew Larry Hall and asked if there were any military reenactments in the area of that time. So this is like how he's becoming known by the police in the area, who are kind of like watching all these cases develop. Following, or a nearby county reaches out and says, "Yo, do you guys know this fucking weird fuckhead, Larry Hall? We think he might be responsible for a couple of these crimes." And they're like, "Yo, is there any Civil War reenactments nearby?" Like that's the fucking shit that he's getting now. So
that'd be funny if they're like, "Hey, do you guys know him? Was he following small children?"
Yeah, they've got their
Weird.
finger on the pulse of Larry Hall. They just need the fucking either Larry Hall, like Bigfoot says, didn't really do much of or any of these, or he is one of the best fucking ever at getting rid of a body. Just truly, because any serial murderer will tell you, killing someone is not nearly as hard as getting rid of a body afterwards. It isn't, what do you do?
Barrels of acid.
Yeah. November 2nd, 1994. So he's being known for these military reenactments. The police now are like, yeah, this guy is a fucking creep. Are there Civil War reenactments nearby? You might want to look into that.
Do we have any here? That'd be fun to go to.
Yeah, Kearney Park does one.
Yeah.
Oh, tons.
Yep.
Can we go to that?
I'd be down to do that. Let's do it and take some pictures.
Yeah.
November 2nd, 1994, Detective Miller arrived in Wabash for an interview with Larry Hall. He was joined by investigators that were investigating the disappearance of Tricia Reitler. Hall was soft-spoken and quiet in his demeanor, and Miller noticed that he emitted no outward signs of disturbed behavior. Miller told Hall he was there because some young girls in Georgetown, Illinois, had reported someone in a van had harassed them. Acting confused, Hall immediately denied ever being in Georgetown and said that he had only been in Illinois, or he had not been in Illinois at all for a long time. On November 15th, 1994, Miller returned to Wabash with Special Agent Ken Templer. Temples. I apologize. Ken Temples. They're close to Larry Hall now. Like, they're fucking really kicking up some dust on it. Question number 12. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Sorry, Casey, I know you're still drawing away over there.
Fucking 3 hours later, dude. Come on.
Question number 12. We're gonna answer this question as well as turn in our drawings. Question number 12. Which branch of the FBI office did Ken Temples work at? Was it A, the Springfield office, B, the Indianapolis office, C, Cincinnati, or D, Chicago? Springfield, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, or Chicago?
One more time.
Springfield, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, or Chicago? Which branch of the FBI office did Ken Temples work for? Dustin says Indianapolis. Paul says Springfield, as does Bigfoot. Bigfoot and Paul jumping out to a lead over Dustin now with 1,000 points each.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys.
Hey, look, I wrote Chicago first and then changed it.
Dang. I was hoping you guys would be like, it's not Springfield. Jesse would just put that on there because Springfield is Simpsons. And,
Hey, you know what would be great? If somebody made a podcast about the Simpsons show.
Check it out. Super Simpsons Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or all your favorite podcast applications.
Weird.
Ken Temples is from the Springfield FBI office. Temples was involved in the Roach murder investigation since her body found across the state line of Indiana. Detective Whitmer drove to Hall's residence and asked Hall to meet with him and some officers. Hall was advised of his Miranda rights and signed a waiver of his rights. Hall was asked questions about the Roach abduction and he was showed a picture of Jessica. After seeing the picture, Larry Hall hung his head and began to cry and recounted the events of September 20th, 1993. He signed a confession admitting to abducting and murdering Jessica Roach and other girls. All right, hand me your drawings here, guys. Let's get these things in.
Careful.
Okay. Oh, man. Oh, is that real?
Careful.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I might have just given it away. Okay. Here is number one. You totally don't know who this is. Let's get you a little closer there.
Is there a person's head in the blue?
Is that a face in the window?
Oh, is that a window?
It's
a window.
Yeah, there is a creepy face in the window.
Yeah.
There's a ski mask.
I like the shift up front, the wood paneling on the sides. It's very Jeepers Creepers.
Why is the back door open?
Real blood was used in the drawing.
It's dripping.
Real blood was used in the drawing.
It's
Okay.
dripping. It's dripping.
Oh,
I can appreciate it.
okay. So that was number one. Number two. This says that there's a pizza, burger, and candy in there too, just in case. You can see the words there at the bottom.
Pizza.
Looks like it's a side. You get like a cut in half here of the van in this one.
And I see the pentagram on the rims.
Pander to your judge.
Yeah.
Looks like might also be an Anxious Extroverts logo up here.
And I feel like the dollar sign in the upper left corner lets me know that that's probably Paul's because he Venmo'd me $7.
I'm trying to win.
Regardless of what I pick, I'm keeping the $7.
It was a calculated risk.
Only $7.
Yeah. I don't want to win that bad.
And the last one is a van opened up and stacked high with ladies.
Can you read the
Hail for all.
license plate?
Hall.
Hall for all.
For all.
So you got the real blood, pentagram wheels, and Hall for all. Somebody is getting 500 points. This one's a hellagreg challenge. Someone's getting 500 points off of this and taking a lead. No matter who gets this right, they're going to move into the lead.
Can I have a minute with that, because those are all really good?
Yeah. I've got another question coming up here, so it'll actually be perfect.
Yeah.
I'll move it to number 14. No, never mind. Sorry, I'll move it to 12. Put 13 here. Shut up, you guys. I do my thing.
Yeah, nobody's saying nothing.
Okay, so November 16th, 1994, Hall has an appointment with Dr. Jim Cates to diagnose the kind of mental health symptoms that he has. Nothing official that I can find from that. There's a whole lot of trips that he makes to the doctor and no official diagnosis that I can find across the board. It seems like they were kind of playing it pretty tight. December 21st, Larry Hall was charged with 1 count of kidnapping Jessica Roach for the purposes of sexual gratification. They couldn't prove that he killed her, so this is the charge that they got her: kidnapping Jessica Roach for the purposes of sexual gratification. February 13th, 1995, Larry Hall met with Dr. Hartman, a psychologist and neuropsychologist neuropsychologist. Dr. Hartman administered an IQ screening test, symptom checklist, and a test for personality characteristics and the MMPI. Question number 13. Get ready to give your points too, Greg. Question number 13 for 250 points for the closest, 1,000 if you nail it. What was Larry Hall's IQ?
Oh, this again?
Get some recurring in here. There's definitely some recurring. Greg is torn over this, you guys. I mean, he's at least torn over 2.
Cool. Best $7 I ever spent.
All right, Dustin said 139. Paul said
127.
127. Bigfoot said 98. Mm-hmm. Bigfoot's getting 250 points because his IQ was 90.
He did way better than the last guy murdering people.
So
The last guy was
Bigfoot has got a sole lead now. He's up 1,250, 1,000 for Paul, 750 for Dustin. Still, somebody can... Dustin, if you get this, you can tie for the lead. Bigfoot or Paul, if you get the points from Greg, you're going to take a sole possession of the lead. Bigfoot, you'd just be extending. Greg, who is getting 500 points for the very first ever hellagreg challenge?
I really want to give it to Bigfoot for realism, for the blood being in there and the perspective, looking out the windshield.
But
and the mix of colors in there and everything. I appreciate it.
Did you notice the girl's face in the window?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
And the ski mask on the floor and the wood paneling, and like I said, the perspective was there.
All right, thank you.
He did notice it all, it seems.
I got to go with Dustin for the pun on the license plate. That's really what got
great
me.
job, Bigfoot, but
You suck.
Hall for all wins.
Oh, I was really pulling for you. I like the pentagram rims. I like the shameless plug for anxious extroverts.
And the $7.
And the $7. I'm gonna.
we all know I don't win at drawing by drawing well. So
He wins at drawing by bribing, and he still doesn't win.
yeah,
And I'm gonna get a Red Bull with that tomorrow.
just one.
Big one.
Okay.
Okay, well, Paul has 1,000 points. Bigfoot and Dustin both have 1,250 points. I think there's 16 total. So we have 3 questions left.
I'm not done. I thought that was it. Did you say there's 12 questions in the beginning?
No, I don't think
15.
I said that at all.
15.
I think there's either 15 in here. I'll double check right now. There's 14.
I thought that was it. I thought I'd lost already.
How's that knee, bro?
Okay, there's 15. I wrote 16, but there is no 15. So there's 15 questions. So there's 2 questions to go. Anybody's fucking game, you guys. We are almost done here. I swear it to you, dudes. So yes, Dr. Greg Helgerson, a clinical psychologist, and had various tests run and found that his IQ was around or right about 90. On June 6, 1995, after a signed confession, Hall is found guilty of kidnapping Jessica Roach. July of 1995, Jane Doe is found in Pulaski County, Kentucky. She's about 25, and regardless of Hall's arrest in 1994, the body that was found is believed to have been there so long that Hall is still suspected for the murder. August 18th of 95, Hall's trial is very swift, and sentencing is complete. Hall is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In February of 1996, Hall's attorney Craig H.D. Armand argued for a new trial with the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. He believed Larry Hall had not received a fair trial and was granted the new trial. Larry would once again give it a go. During this time, several Jane Does were found and had been dead for some time. Most of all were believed to be victims of Larry Hall. So, like, while he's in jail, they're still just, like, discovering bodies and being like, I think Larry Hall did this. So, scapegoat or not, he's got his name tied to a lot of fucking murders. August 18th, 1997, 34 years old, Larry Hall's second trial began, his new one, 4 years after Jessica Roach was abducted. On December 2nd, 1997, Larry Dwayne Hall came before Judge Joe B. McDade in the United States District Court of Peoria, Illinois. He was sentenced once again to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 1998, Hall confessed a third time to a fellow inmate named James Keene about killing Tricia Reitler. Hall told Keene that night that he abducted Reitler. He took her to his home and left her bound in the back of his van while he pondered on what to do with her. Hall said he later drove to a wilderness near Wabash and murdered and buried her. Question number 14. What is peculiar about his cellmate, James Keene?
He's a snitch, obviously.
James Keene had actually killed Reitler. James Keene was a snitch put there by detectives. C, he was deaf but could read lips. Or D, he went to high school with Larry.
What if it was B, C, and D?
It's not. So he actually killed Reitler himself. He was a snitch put there by detectives. He was deaf but could read lips. Or he went to high school with Larry. Jesus. Put a fucking letter. Bigfoot says that he is deaf. Both Dustin and Paul, you can't get away. Your answer is always someone else's answer. Quit copying.
They're really good answers.
Say that he was a snitch and put there by detectives.
He was deaf.
Dustin and Paul are both going to get points on this one.
Yeah, suck it.
Because James Keene, the only reason he was there was because law enforcement inserted him into the population, specifically to try to draw more information from Hall. Keene was a charismatic, convicted drug dealer who was offered a reduced sentence for his assistance and cooperation. But this guy is a fucking douche and 3/4. Don't worry, guys. I have a clip for you.
Snitch or the other guy?
The snitch.
Sweet.
So I should have went with my original answer
Yeah,
that he was a snitch.
So stupid.
Yeah.
If anybody's ever looked stupid on the show, it's you right now.
The funny thing is, people can't see me, so I don't look stupid,
No,
Paul.
I'm looking at you. It was literally, he's a snitch. One of the answers, snitch.
Are we
I'm gonna
waiting
go
until the
something
end of the
else.
show for the fist fight?
Okay, so we are very close with just one question remaining. Dustin has a 1,500 to 1250 lead. He's been trailing most of the game, but putting on a strong
I'm
second
fucking
half.
winning?
You are winning by 250 points.
Kenny Powers.
Shit.
Yep, so
Kenny fucking Powers.
I believe the last question is no multiple choice either, so there's good possibilities there. Casey, I'm going to keep your biological hazard here too, because I like it. That is not the last
Dang
question,
it.
believe it or not. So
She's still alive.
yeah. From 2009 to 2010, he's now in his late 40s. Indianapolis cold case officers visited Hall to question him about Michelle Dewey murder and other cases. He denied ever hurting anyone. On October 11th, 2009, Hall called Christopher Hawley Martin, who was writing a book about him, and told him about his innocence. He said that he didn't kidnap or murder Jessica Roach. A man named Lester O'Toole did. But 2 years later, on May 26th, 2011, at 48 years old, in an interview with the Associated Press and there you go. There's your AP
Thank you.
interview. Question number 15 and final question. Somebody's getting 250 points. So here's the deal. If one of you two gets it, you're tying Dustin, and there's going to be some type of tiebreaker. So get ready, Greg.
Oh, I'm ready.
Dustin, if you get it, they're out of it, okay? If anybody nails it, you won. Okay. Question number 15. Larry Hall is going to lay claim to a number of women that he believes he abducted between 1980 and 1994 to this Associated Press interview. How many is it? There's like fucking 9 numbers.
There's one number.
The one that you're holding sideways?
Well, it was
Okay,
supposed to
Paul
be that
says
way.
57. Dustin said 37.
Yeah.
And Bigfoot says 36. Wow. Larry Hall
Guys, wait for it.
claims to have abducted
Wait for it.
between 1980 and 1994. Congratulations, Dustin.
Fuck
39
you both.
women.
Oh my god!
39. He fucking prices righted you over there, dude. Went $1 above you and just took it away, dude. So yes, between 1980 and 1994, Larry Hall in 2011 would say that he believes he abducted 39 women. He's trying to remember them all, including
probably 18 others.
Lori Deppies, which was one of the ones he was questioned about and denied earlier. So I want to show you guys something really quick before we get off. It's James Keene. He's the drug dealer snitch, but you guys got to hear this fucking guy. He's just the best, dude.
Is he the best?
Yeah.
Is he the best?
No, not at all. So he's like talking about his high school football career right now.
The whole stadium would just be completely full and the crowd would be roaring, and it was just a very euphoric, unbelievable high.
This guy's like 50
Friday
talking about
night
his high
games
school
were the
football.
biggest rush I've ever had in my life.
A gifted athlete, he lettered in 2 sports, studied martial arts, and inspired fear in everyone he faced.
Kinda.
Do you like having people terrified of you just a little bit?
Well, in that kind of sport, sure, you have to. Well, that's why they called me the assassin. So.
You were the assassin.
Yes, my nickname was the assassin.
No, they
and
didn't.
the reason my name was the assassin is because I put somebody out of every game I've ever played.
Keene wasn't just the hometown hero,
Target
he
is
was
more.
his father's namesake.
That was
My
like
dad
Target.
generally sat up here in the corner over here. If I made a spectacular play, he would always give me the, "You did good, son," you know.
How often was he sitting in the stands?
Every single game of my life. Never ever missed a game. He never even missed my practices.
That mean a lot to you?
Absolutely. My dad was, he was my backbone.
Keene was as popular as he was athletic.
You were a legend.
Yeah, I mean, there was no doubt. I mean, they had posters of me all over town. I mean, everybody knew who I
Fuck,
was
hate
with my
it.
sports ability. So yeah, I was the most popular guy around. There's no question. I was
Fucking
voted
hate
the most
him.
popular guy in school.
Jimmy
There you go, man.
I had a great childhood, but I had to turn to a life of crime.
Yeah, I had this really incredibly supportive father who was at every game and told me I did good when I did good. So I started selling drugs
Yeah.
and became not even a good person, like not even like a guy who just sold drugs and kept his damn mouth shut. I'm a drug dealing snitch. God, I fucking hate him.
So, congratulations, Dustin, on winning the Battle Royale. I didn't tell you to prepare, but since you've won, you're winning. You may have 10 seconds to say whatever you want. Starting now.
Actually, I've enjoyed watching Paul and Casey Go at it.
Your time is up. So, congratulations, Dustin, on your season finale and battle royale victory. It looks like the shit talking will not have to cease here. Paul's big weird knees and Dustin's deep voice and
Hey, fuck you, Greg.
and Bigfoot's ultra hairy back and weird stance and walk through the wilderness are all going to be back in season 4. We'll see plenty of them. Thank you guys for your support throughout the seasons. Hellagreg, what do you got going on out over there, man?
At hellagreg on all your favorite social medias. I've had people sending me messages wanting to talk about conspiracies, and I am totally down with that. I've actually had people like, what's your favorite? Well, fuck, I don't know. I don't know what my favorite is, but I like them all. But yeah, I'm down to talk about them. Come find me.
Reach out to Hellagreg. Greg, we're by the time you guys hear this, we won't be on break anymore, but we're taking a little break starting right now. Check out our new show, Super Simpsons Show. We've got some other things coming down the pipe in 2019, so keep your eye out for that. Anything you guys want to throw out there here at the end? Bigfoot, Paul, Dustin.
Just want to say I have no respect for anybody but Jesse at this table. Y'all can suck it. Greg, enjoy that $7.
Like I said, I'm going to get a Red Bull with it. You just kept me alive for another 24 hours.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Stop.
First of all,
Stop.
I just want to say BIGGFOOT Designs.
That was rough.
Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, all those places. Second of all, I want to address Paul and his lack of respect.
Don't at me.
For
he said
someone who has been raised to the sublime degree.
Oh, he's going to say it.
You're just a little EA. You're just a little baby EA.
I'm just a little fella.
Just keep your mouth shut.
Flap up and everything.
First of all,
weird.
Hail Satan. Second of all,
through Satan, all things are possible.
Second of all, get the fuck off social media. That shit kills you. It's bullshit.
That's what's going to kill me?
Third of all, Paul and Casey, I just want to see this shit keep going. I started this. I lit the match, and I'm just watching this motherfucker burn. I love it. I have nothing to do with it anymore. I beat both of you. Fuck you. Have fun.
Damn it.
Well, thank the three of you for making it out to the Super Network studio and recording a 3-hour episode here. We'll see how much of it makes it to the episode. So thanks. Oh my God. Shut up.
It wasn't Paul.
Thanks, Bigfoot. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Dustin. And thank you, Hellagreg. And thank you, everybody out there, for listening to the season finale, episode 80 of the Serial Chillers podcast.
Hail Satan.
See you in a month.
Thank you, Jesse.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.